Bro, if NASA called me tomorrow and said, yo, we need a volunteer, yes. But I haven't even finished my sentence yet. No, trust me, I'm born for space. I'm built different. I'm fearless. I'm Batman. Bruh. Oh, hell no! If I died on some of these planets, I wouldn't just scream. I would literally, violently, spiritually shit myself. Like, we look up at the stars and think, oh, how pretty, maybe there's a little green man named Zorp living there. No, Zorp is dead. Zorp was liquefied 3 billion years ago because space is not a vibe, it's a celestial torture chamber. Take Phobos, for example. It's one of Mars's moons, and honestly, it's barely a moon. It looks like a dusty potato that God gave up on halfway through. The gravity there is so weak. We're talking 0.1% of Earth's gravity. That the escape velocity is only about 41 kilometers per hour. That is literally G-speed. Imagine you're up there trying to be the first lunar athlete. You go up for a casual dunk, you put a little too much pep in your step, and suddenly, you aren't coming back down. You're just drifting. You're watching the base get smaller and smaller while you're just stuck in permanent T-pose heading towards the void. You'd have like 2 hours of oxygen just to think about how mid your final highlight reel was. Fast and Furious 12 drifted into oblivion. It's not even a violent death, it's just embarrassing. You're basically cosmic litter at that point. But honestly, you'd consider drifting into the void a luxury once you hear about the absolute genetic lottery from hell that is Proxima Centauri b. This planet is in the habitable zone, which is the biggest lie NASA has ever told us. It's like an apartment listing that says cozy, but the radiator is actually a portal to the sun. Proxima Centauri b gets hit by solar flares 100 times stronger than anything our sun throws at us. In 2019, this star pulled a pro gamer move and got 14,000 times brighter for 7 seconds. If you were standing there trying to get a tan, what you'd actually get was a fundamental restructuring of your DNA. I'd last 40 seconds on the surface and walk back into the ship with 3 kidneys and a tail. My bone marrow would just quit. Like, sorry boss, we're closed for the season. Actually, no. For life. What's the opposite of evolve again? Oh yeah, you devolve into a puddle of sentient Go-Gurt. And because it's tidally locked, one side is a permanent blast furnace and the other is a freezer. The winds are 75 kilometers per hour, but they aren't carrying a breeze. They're carrying rock shrapnel. Imagine getting a rock to the visor at speeds of cars on a highway while your hair falls out mid-sentence. That pebble just took away my Father's Day. Anyway, it's crazy how we think a habitable zone means a beach day, when usually it just means you have a slightly higher chance of seeing your own organs before you expire. It's kind of like Mercury, except Mercury doesn't even pretend to be your friend. Mercury is basically the pick your trauma planet. It has no atmosphere, so it's just raw dogging the universe's radiation. During the day, it's 427 Celsius. Your sweat would instantly boil into steam and the water in your body is literally boiling because the pressure is so low. But then, if you wait for the sun to go down, which takes about 3 months because the rotation is slower than a DMV line, it drops to 180 Celsius. You're basically a hot pocket that's frozen in the middle but lava on the outside. I'd be standing on the Terminator line, the strip between light and dark, just shuffling my feet back and forth like a manic penguin trying not to burst into flames or turn into an ice sculpture. At least on Mercury, you can see the sun coming. On Enceladus, Saturn's little ice moon that sounds like another version of Mexican burrito, the betrayal comes from the floor. It looks peaceful, like a giant snowball. But then you realize the gravity is so low, I'm talking 86.8 times lower than on Earth, that if a moonquake hits, you're getting swallowed whole. You'd be standing there admiring the rings and suddenly a geyser erupts. Except the liquid is a toxic cocktail of methane, carbon monoxide, and hydrogen cyanide. That's the stuff in spy suicide pills. You take one breath of the fresh air and just... Handies frozen, lungs full of poison, buried under a kilometer of ice. It's a very clean death, but I'd still shit myself before the cyanide hit. Speaking of getting hit in the face with things that shouldn't be there, Let's talk about TRAPPIST-1b. This planet is part of a very crowded neighborhood. The planets in this system are so close together that if you stood on the surface of 1D, the other planets in the sky would look bigger than our moon. It sounds aesthetic for a second until you realize these planets are basically throwing rocks at each other. The gravitational tug of war is so violent that it triggers constant meteor showers. You're trying to have a main character moment looking at the horizon for a sick IG pic, and then Planet C just yeets an asteroid at your forehead. The stellar winds have stripped the atmosphere so thin that the temperature jumps from comfy hoodie weather to industrial oven the second the sun peeks out. It's less of a planet and more of a cosmic firing squad. And if you think a thin atmosphere is bad, LHS 3844b is basically the I have no personality of planets. It has zero atmosphere. Cero. Nul. Hung. Nada. It's just a rock orbiting a hot little dwarf star. And me flexing in Spanish, French, Vietnamese, and Portuguese. The day side is 765 degrees Celsius. The night side is hundreds of degrees below zero. It's just raw space, so walking outside equals a radiation speedrun. If I showed any part of me to the sun, my skin would be gone before I could finish saying, why is there no wind or sound here? It's basically Mercury's angrier, more successful cousin who went to Harvard just to learn how to kill humans faster. But honestly, at least on a rock planet, you have a floor. Gravity is a suggestion, sure, but there's a floor. On Jupiter, the floor is a myth. If you fall into Jupiter, you aren't landing. You're just entering a liquid metal blender. First, the radiation kills you before you even hit the clouds. If you survive that, you're hitting ammonia clouds at minus 150 degrees Celsius, with winds moving at 482 kilometers per hour. You'd be falling for hours. Just falling. It becomes emotional. You start contemplating your life choices. Maybe I should have called my mom more. Maybe I shouldn't have brought those off-brand Oreos. And then the pressure starts. Eventually, the gas gets so thick that it becomes a liquid metallic hydrogen ocean. You're not drowning, you're dissolving. And the core is 24,000 degrees Celsius. That's hotter than the surface of the freaking sun. You're swimming in off-brand Capri Sun made of liquid metal until you become one with the soup. Jupiter is a slow burn, but Venus is the final boss of global warming. If you stepped onto Venus, you wouldn't even have time to scream. You'd just fold. The pressure is 92 bar. That's like being 900 meters underwater. Your suit would crumple like a soda can under a monster truck. And it's 465 degrees Celsius. The atmosphere is supercritical CO2, which is a fancy way of saying the air is so thick it's basically a liquid. But it's still a gas, and it's also acid. You'd be human panini in 5 seconds. It's the ultimate greenhouse apocalypse. I'd see the yellow clouds and just accept that my life is now a before and after photo for why we should recycle. Actually, being a panini sounds almost peaceful compared to Neptune. On Neptune, you aren't just crushed, you're turned into a human Beyblade. The winds there are supersonic, over 2,100 kilometers per hour. You'd be spinning so fast your organs would pull in your legs from the 10 Gs of force. You'd black out instantly, which is a mercy because then the diamond rain starts. Because of the pressure, methane in the atmosphere turns into literal diamonds. Imagine getting pelted by supersonic diamonds while spinning at Mach 2. I came for the vibes, I left as gravel. You'd hit the 7,000 degrees Celsius core and just cease. Your atoms would be like, yeah, we're out. Good luck with all that. It's funny because we always think of the gas giants as these big fluffy marbles, but they're just giant, rotating death spheres. Even the calmer ones like Titan, Saturn's moon, are just waiting to glitch you out of existence. Titan has liquid methane lakes. It's minus 180 Celsius. If you fell in, there'd be no splash because the liquid is so different from water. You'd just sink silently and flash freeze. Your lungs would turn into ice cubes the second you inhaled. And the best part, if your oxygen tank had a tiny leak and a spark happened, the whole atmosphere is nitrogen and methane. You'd be in an instant frozen explosion, a cold plunge that ends in a Michael Bay explosion. 10 out of 10 for the drama, 0 out of 10 for the survival. Speaking of Michael Bay, let's talk about Kepler 10b, the Iron Cannonball. And yes, the names just keep sounding more and more like Elon's descendant. This planet orbits its stars so closely that it completes a full year in less than an Earth day. If you were standing on the surface, the sun would take up half the sky. It's so hot that iron doesn't just melt, it stays in a liquid state across most of the surface. You're not just dying from the heat, which is about 1500 Celsius. You're literally being pelted by molten iron rain. Imagine a thunderstorm, but instead of water, it's liquidated girders falling from the sky at 500 miles an hour. You wouldn't be just shitting yourself, you'd be shitting liquid slag before you even hit the floor. The gravity is also 2.3 times stronger than Earth's. So while you're being melted by liquid iron rain, your skeleton is also trying to collapse into your boots. It's a very efficient way to be turned into a paperweight. If you think a planet that rains iron is bad, wait until you meet Kelt 9b. This isn't just a hot planet, it's a celestial middle finger to the laws of chemistry. To put that in perspective, that is hotter than the surface of most stars. It is so hot that molecules, actual basic molecules like water or carbon dioxide, can't even exist. They just get ripped apart into raw atoms like a Lego set being thrown into a wood chipper. If you were teleported here, you wouldn't even have time to be a human panini. You'd be human plasma. Your atoms would be stripped of their electrons before you could even realize you were dying. It is the ultimate I don't want to be here experience. The planet also has a tail, like a comet, because the star is literally evaporating it. You'd be dying on a world that is essentially a giant screaming ghost of a planet. Then there's the puffy planet, HAT-P-32b. It's about twice the size of Jupiter but has a much lower mass, making it one of the least dense planets ever found. It's basically a giant cosmic marshmallow. I know what you might already be thinking, but it's not a giant marshmallow that you can land softly on or toast over the sun as a campfire. No. It's a marshmallow that is currently on fire. Because it's so close to its star, the heat has caused the atmosphere to puff out like a bag of popcorn in a microwave. If you tried to land, you'd just sink through thousands of miles of boiling, lukewarm gas that smells like sulfur and regret, not sugar and childhood. There's no solid surface to hit, just an endless descent into a humid, dark, high-pressure oven. It's the feeling of being stuck in a crowded elevator during a summer heat wave. But the elevator is 100,000 miles tall and everyone inside is screaming. If you thought a marshmallow planet was a nightmare, let's pivot to something that sounds like a spa day, but is actually a horror movie. Glycay 436b. This thing is a hot Neptune, and it's a total glitch in the Matrix. It's covered in ice, but the surface temperature is a casual 439 Celsius. Wait, ice at 400 degrees? How? The gravity is so insanely strong that it literally compresses the water vapor into a solid, forcing it into a state called Ice 7. Yeah, we got whatever that is before GTA 6. Nice. You'd be standing on a surface that looks like a skating rink, but it would be melting your boots off instantly while the pressure tries to squeeze your soul out of your pores. It's like the universe forgot how physics works and just decided to mess with us for fun. But honestly, I'd take the burning ice over the blue blur of death that is HD 189733b. At a glance, it looks like Earth. It's a beautiful deep blue. You'd think, oh, maybe there's a beach. Maybe I can finally relax. Wrong! The blue color isn't from water. It's from silicate particles in the atmosphere. In other words, it's a planet where it rains glass. And because the winds move at 7,000 kilometers per hour, it doesn't rain down. It rains sideways. You'd be standing there for 0.2 seconds before a billion microscopic glass shards shredded you into a fine mist. It's like being put into an industrial wood chipper filled with broken Heineken bottles. You wouldn't even leave a corpse. You'd just be a blue smear on the horizon. The scenery is basically a blender set to pulse. If the idea of being shredded by glass makes you uncomfortable, how about being slowly boiled alive in a giant space sauna? That's Glycay 1214b. It's a water world. But don't get excited. The atmosphere is so thick and the pressure is so high that the water exists in a weird mushy state called hot ice or superfluid water. You'd be sinking through clouds of boiling steam into an ocean that is hundreds of degrees hot, but somehow solid because the pressure is trying to turn your molecules into a single pixel. It's the ultimate claustrophobia. You're being crushed and poached at the same time. You're basically a giant terrified shrimp in a cosmic pot of ramen. And then we have water Wasp 12b. Exactly like a wasp if the wasp was gonna get eaten. This poor thing is so close to its parent star that the star's gravity is stretching the planet into the shape of an egg. It's being ripped apart at the seams. It's losing about 189 quadrillion tons of gas every year. If you died here, you'd spend your final moments watching the sky literally peel away. It's the ultimate existential dread. The ground beneath you is being sucked into a giant ball of fire in the sky. You aren't just dying on a planet, you're dying on a planet that is also dying. It's a double down on the trauma. But maybe you prefer a more classic horror movie vibe. In that case, let's go to PSR B1257 plus 12c, also known as Poltergeist. This planet doesn't orbit a normal star, it orbits a pulsar, the spinning dead corpse of a massive star. The pulsar emits beams of radiation that sweep across the planet like a lighthouse from hell. If you're standing there, you're being hit by a blast of X-rays and gamma rays every few milliseconds. There is no light, just the flickering strobe effect of invisible radiation cooking your cells. It's a silent, dark, flickering nightmare. You'd feel your skin start to itch, then your eyes would stop working. Then your heart would just forget how to beat. It's the most haunted place in the universe. And there isn't even a ghost, just physics being a jerk. Speaking of dark, let's talk about TRES-2b. This is the darkest planet ever discovered. It reflects less than 1% of the light that hits it. It's blacker than coal, blacker than acrylic paint, blacker than my soul after seeing my bank account on Monday morning. But it's not cold. It's a hot Jupiter with a surface temperature of 1000 Celsius. So imagine standing in a room that is pitch black where you can't see your own hand in front of your face, but everything around you is glowing a faint dull red from the heat. It's literally the basement of the universe. You'd be stumbling around in the dark, sweating through your suit, waiting for something to kill you, only to realize the something is just the air itself. It's the ultimate sensory deprivation tank, except the tank is on fire. If you survive the dark, you still have to worry about the mega-Earths, like Kepler-10c. This planet is 17 times the mass of the Earth and only about twice the size. The gravity there is so intense that if you tried to stand up, your legs would snap like dry spaghetti. You'd be pinned to the ground by your own weight. You'd spend your final moments staring at a rock, unable to move as your heart struggles to pump blood uphill to your brain. It's the most lazy way to die, but also the most painful. You're basically a human pancake waiting for the sun to come up and finish the job. And we can't forget Io, Jupiter's moon. It's the most volcanically active body in the solar system. It's yellow and splotchy like a moldy pizza. There are hundreds of volcanoes constantly erupting. The ground is literally moving beneath your feet. You'd be trying to find a safe spot to sit and a lake of lava would just open up under your chair. Plus, because it's so close to Jupiter, the radiation is high enough to kill you in a few hours anyway. So you're dodging lava, breathing sulfur, and getting fried by magnetic fields. It's the floor is lava game, but the floor is actually lava, and also the air is poison, and also you have cancer now. Actually, sulfur is nothing compared to the acid rain moon, which doesn't exist yet, but we found a planet that basically does it. OGLE TR56b. It's another hot Jupiter, but it's so hot that it has iron clouds. Say that again? I've already talked about iron rain? No, this is different. This is iron mist. It's a fog made out of liquidated metal. You'd be walking through a gray haze, and as it cooled on your suit, it would create a solid metal shell around you. You'd be entombed in iron while you're still alive. You'd become a literal statue of yourself. Some alien would find you millions of years later and think, wow, what a beautiful, terrified sculpture. Anyway, did anybody get those BOGOs minted? Even after all that ice and wind, nothing, and I mean nothing, is as depressing as Pluto. Pluto is just a silent freeze statue. It's minus 220 Celsius. The sun is so far away it just looks like a slightly brighter star. There's no sound, no wind, just you getting hypothermia in 30 seconds and freezing in a funny pose for some future alien archaeologist to find. You'd just be a permanent frozen monument to human stupidity. It's peaceful, but it's the kind of peace that makes you want to cry, except your tears would freeze to your eyeballs instantly. You'd be staring at Charon, Pluto's moon, which is so big it doesn't even orbit Pluto. They just orbit each other. It's like a toxic relationship where they're just staring at each other in the cold forever. I'd be the third wheel, frozen solid, holding a please help sign that no one will ever see. But if I really had to pick the absolute worst, most give me some tissue paper because I am shitting myself right now. Way to go. It has to be 55 Cancri E. This is the Diamond Lava Trust Fund from hell. NASA calls it a super Earth, but it's more like a super hell. It's so close to its star that the surface is 2,400 Celsius. The ground is not ground, it's a literal lava ocean. But here's the kicker. 1/3 of this planet's mass is pure diamond. Bro, imagine dying on a planet where you're surrounded by more wealth than Jeff Bezos, but you can't touch it because your shoes melted 5 miles ago. I'd die rich. Like, actually cremated, but financially stable. The atmosphere is thick. Toxic silicon oxide. It's basically breathing liquid gas. You'd be standing on a diamond floor looking at a lava sunset while your body vaporizes into jazz music. You can't mine the diamonds because you are becoming the diamond. It's a whole new meaning to generational wealth. I became the inheritance. Hashtag see you later student loans, except I'm now a very expensive pile of ash. But thank all your gods, boys, cause right now we're on Earth. The genuinely miraculous planet. Every single variable had to be in place and then hold for billions of years, just so you could sit here watching someone spiral about so many planets that would turn us into a smoothie in less time than it takes to skip a YouTube ad. But we are built for couches. We are built for DoorDash and complaining about Netflix raising prices by $2 and arguing with strangers on X about whether cereal is a soup. So yeah, I'd absolutely shit myself, but at least on 55 Cancri E, I'd be the most expensive shit in the galaxy.